Okay, so hi, I'm Jackie. So I'm part of the EdgeProp team who handles the EdgeProp Excellence Awards. So together with my team, we'll be handling the awards this year. So the reason why we're having the briefing is also to help you understand what are the submission process and how it is judged, so that you can have a better understanding of how to put in your best submissions. Because I understand, like from previous years, there were a lot of questions on, oh, is this necessary, or why do I need to submit this portion, and how do I make it better? And also, I understand from the last 2 years, the sustainability portion was a bit confusing also. So this year, it's also it's a technical portion for us, and we're not the experts on sustainability. So we do have Gavin from CPG, who will be explaining the sustainability portion for us this year. So he will carry on later after my presentation. So I'll just start. This is what we'll be going through today. So I'll go through the timeline that we have and the eligibility criteria, which is mostly already in the handout. So I'll just briefly go through. And then most importantly, we also want to share with you our submission portal. So previous years, we had our submission portal like through JotForm or Google Forms, which posed as a challenge to some of you because your company cannot use like Gmail or something, right? So we also had the offline form, which also created like different challenges because we are not sure whether what you submitted is actually what the judges will see. So we have, our team has designed the submission portal, which will show you exactly what the judges will be looking at, which is what you are submitting, and then you can edit from there. Okay, so that will give you a clearer idea of how the judging will be done also. Okay, and then after that, we'll have a Q&A if you have any questions about what the submission is. So firstly, just now, Kawi already shared the brief introduction of EPEA. So now I'll tell you about the theme of this year. So every year we have a theme for the awards. So last year, our theme was on, the previous year, our theme was on sustainability. Okay, last year was on spaces. So this year is more focused on bringing spaces to places. What we mean by that is to bring a meaning to the space that you're creating. For example, how it fosters a sense of community and how it brings a sense of belonging. So this is also to be in line with the Forward SG campaign that the government has launched in 2022. Okay, so I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is our judging panel. So each year we have 6 judges on the panel. So they are all from different disciplines, so to get a different perspective of from their point of view. So to make sure that like the awards is not too mundane. So every 3 years we will change the judges so that each judge will not be on the panel for more than 3 years. So this year, Mr. Tan Kok Tai has already been our judge for the last 3 years. So we will be changing, having a new architect on board. So we can't share who it is yet because we haven't confirmed it. Okay. So, and also another thing to bring out is a lot of the judges will be involved in some of the projects that you submit for our awards. So to ensure that the scoring is fair, whatever that they are involved in, their scores will not be counted in the scores for that project. Okay, so next I'm going to share the timeline. Oh, I'm going to show you a video first. Just press. Oh, okay. So this was the judging process from last year.
change. What is interesting in the area of innovation is that when you are faced with high prices, you start thinking more in terms of how the users use their space and use technology to elevate that sense of space. A strong project would be one where the design language translates very clearly into thinking, what would the end user care about? What would the end user do? Landscape as overall has gone beyond just aesthetic and compositions. When we talk about landscape, we are no longer talking about gardens or parks. Ultimately, stretching from ID, architecture, and landscape, we are talking about one common language, which is space that we are creating.
In recent times, because of our drive towards zero carbon and low carbon, the bar has been constantly increasing. From energy efficiency, we're now moving on towards other components, such as the use of natural ventilation, reducing the reliance on mechanical systems, to even talking about bringing in nature and biodiversity into buildings. So the use of green facades, the use of greenery landscape, and natural water features. The challenge is translating these interventions into tangible outcomes. How do we actually impact the carbon footprint within the building?
The theme this year is efficiency, and through all the developments you could see a lot of efficiency being placed in terms of space planning, not only through the individual units, but it's through the layout of the site where a lot of thought has been given for sustainability and also landscape and how it basically synergize with the surrounding environments.
All the projects that we have visited or scored online are pretty much amazing. I enjoy all the viewings, the thought process behind the designs. I thought the layouts of the units were very well thought, and the finishes were actually quite well executed. So I think everyone is a winner to me.
Okay, so maybe to briefly tell you, bring you through what you saw in the video, is that after your submissions, the judges would judge the submissions online, and then after that, we'll collate the scores, and then we'll select a few projects for the site visits. So how we select the projects for site visits is based on how outstanding your submissions was on the online portal. So whether there's anything interesting that the judges want to look out for when they go for the actual site visits, or if you did incredibly well and you scored incredibly well, and then we'll also select it for the site visits. So not all projects will be selected. So selected or not doesn't mean you will win or not. So it's just that it's an interesting project that they want to see face to face. Okay, so selected projects for the site visits would be conducted in July. So usually we have it about 3 days. And because of the time frame that we have, we might only be able to let you know like 1 to 2 weeks before that we need to go for a site visit. Okay, so but the time frame would be in July. Okay, then after that, as you can see in the video, after the site visits, the judges would also come together and discuss on the final scores before we have our final decision on who the winners are. So it's a very elaborate process for the judges and a lot of effort put into it. So now we will go to the criteria. So on the second page of the Okay, I won't go too much into it as everything is actually written in the paper, but if you have any questions, you can raise it up later. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different categories, and then each category has its own eligibility criteria. So we have broken down the residential into completed and uncompleted projects, and then we have the hotels, co-living, commercial, and then industrial. So commercial includes both retail and office spaces. So these are the criteria that is on the piece of paper. Okay, then moving on, I'll just briefly tell you what are the awards that each category is eligible for. So for completed and uncompleted projects, I'm sure most of you will be familiar with it, is that we have the Design, Innovation, Landscape and Sustainability Excellence Awards. For the uncompleted projects, there are also the Marketing and Show Flat Excellence. Okay, then for hotels, we will segregate them into luxury, upscale and boutique. And then we have co-living, commercial, and then the top industrial. Okay, and then this will be the awards segments that you see in the submission forms. So each segment will have its different judging components, which we will briefly go through later on. Okay, then there's also the Top Development Awards, which we will also segregate into the different types of development, which is, for example, boutique or mega or landed development. Okay, and then we have the People's Choice Award, one for each category. So we would put the project up for voting to the public, and then we'll see which one is the People's Choice lah. Okay, then after that we'll have a Top Developer Award. So the Top Developer Award is basically the total number of awards that each developer has won. Are you okay? Okay. So Top Developer is the total number of awards that each developer has won, and then if you have the highest number, then you have the Top Developer Award. So it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so now I'll go into the judging components. So the next few pages will show the judging components. Okay, so Design Excellence is one of the categories. So what we look out for in Design Excellence is how you bring new ideas to the market, or like how you push the boundaries of like what design is in each project. And also, for example, if you want to have a more outstanding submission, right? For example, for your unit layouts, you don't just write like, oh, I have how many 3 bedrooms, I have how many 3+ study. So tell us why the different unit layouts. For example, if you have a dumbbell design, why is it significant for your project? Because how does it target your target audience? So tell us how it relates to the people who are staying there, who will be staying at the place. So don't just like list out, oh, this is what we have. The key to having a more outstanding submission is to also explain how does it enhance the livability of the place. Okay, so of course we also have interior aesthetics, exterior aesthetics, facilities, and the maintainability. So all of this will add up to 100%. And then the second award that we have is the Innovation Excellence. So what we look out for in Innovation Excellence is the usage of technology and how it helps the people who are staying in the project, in the space, right? And how it relates to the community. So instead of just listing out that, oh, I have this, tell us why they need this certain innovation that you brought into the project. So that will bring out your submissions even more. And yes, so that's for innovation. The third one would be Landscape Excellence. So Landscape Excellence, we don't just look at like how much landscaping you have. It's also about how your landscaping blends into the environment and how it relates to the place that it used to be. So like how it gives a sense of place, or how it creates new cultural values for the people who will be staying there. And also, of course, it also touches on like the biodiversity and the habitat creation. For example, if the piece of land used to have a certain plant or native species there, you have to remove it and bring it back into the project and build up the nature in their surroundings. So that's for the judging components. So the Landscape Excellence also has a non-judge component, which would be your LRA and your green plot ratio. So this portion would I believe your architect or your landscape architect would be able to fill it up for you. So the guides, there will be an Excel sheet or a guide that they can refer to calculate the GNPR and the LRA. So this would take up 20% of the weightage. Okay, and then the fourth category we have would be sustainability excellence. So I will let Gavin go through this in detail later, but briefly we'll have 60% would be scored by CPG, which is Gavin and his team. And this will be the components he'll share with you about later on. And then there's also 40%, which is scored by the panel. So it will briefly talk about the cohesiveness of your sustainable features that you have and how well it coexists with the natural environment. Okay, and then that is the 4 categories for the residential completed projects. So the uncompleted projects, we still have 2 more categories. So one of it is marketing excellence. So marketing excellence talks about your strategy and the digital strategies you have and your promotional mechanics. So besides your marketing objectives and your strategy, how well your marketing is account. Okay, why we have a project account is so that we can share this login with like your consultants or your architects. So I understand that your submission process is not just like one single person who is submitting. You need various parties, maybe your architects, your IDs, or your different consultants that you have. Various parties will need to put different information together. So instead of like one person having to collate all the information, you can pass the project login to your consultants or your architects, and they can fill in the particular portion for you. So I'll show you the account later on. Maybe it's a bit confusing now. So for example, project account I will create an email. This email is the one that you share with them, and then they use this email to log in. They will be able to edit only that particular project. Okay, so I'll show that later. So when you create the new project, there's the submitter's information. So this is the person in charge who will be submitting. So most probably is either the marketing manager or the project manager, right? So this portion is important because if EdgeProp has any queries that we need to follow up with for your submission, this is the person that we'll be contacting to ask for more information. Okay, then there's the project info. This will be the basic information, and then we'll look at the project introduction. Okay, so you will be able to only submit one hero image. That will be the image that will represent your project. Okay, we'll look at an overview later, and then you'll have a brief description and all the different requirements lah. Okay, and then we look at an example. Let's look at the design excellence. Yeah, so each of these categories will take into account for your whole project score. So it would be good to fill up all the different blanks that we have. So for example, in design excellence, if you look at the rubrics that we have, right? Design concept takes up 20%. So if you leave this blank, you will lose like 20 marks. Then exterior aesthetics takes up 20%. So if you don't fill it up, you will also lose another 20 marks. So the best is to fill in everything, and also to like make it more personable, like explain why your project is, why is it unique to your project, not just listing out what you have in your brochure. Okay, so everything that you submit here will be exactly what the judges will be looking at. Okay, and then we also have the photos to depict design excellence. So you need to pick your top 5 photos that represents your design excellence. Each category will have like 5 photos that you can upload. So the reason that we are putting it to 5 photos is because if you have like a huge amount of photos, like 20 photos, imagine the judges have to look at like 60 submissions. They won't be able to look at all your photos. So if you pick the top 5 that best represents it, it gives them an easier time to like look at it and know, okay, this is exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so that's why we limit to 5 photos. And then, of course, remember to always save and continue later so you don't lose your progress. Okay? And let's say you have a lot of other photos that you want to submit. You can upload them on the media uploads. So in the media upload, you can upload your brochure, additional images, additional videos, or external video link. So this would be where you can put the rest of your media, but I would advise you to put the main ones in each of the columns, categories already. So the media uploads is where you can put it in. If the judge has enough time, they will look at it. So I cannot guarantee that they will look at every single page of it, right? So if you choose the best 5 photos, then that's what they'll be looking at. Okay, and then the N is declaration. And then you can submit your project. So if you look at the key dates at the first page, it says that the submissions will open on 21st April, which is a month from today. And the submission will close on 31st May. So even if you submit the project, let's say you submitted on 2nd May, it doesn't mean that it's the final one. You can still go in and edit the project. So this is submitted. I can still go in and edit the project. Okay, the hard deadline would be 31st May 2359. So after that, you won't be able to log in to edit. You can still log in to preview, but you won't be able to edit your project anymore. Okay, so up until 31st May, even if you submitted already, you can still go in and edit and resubmit again. Okay, so since we're at this project list page, so after I submitted this project, I can still go in to edit. It will be the exact same form that we were in just now. And then you can also look at, so it will be the exact same thing that you have just now. Okay, so the videos that I put in, the photos that you put in. Okay, and then, the site is still under construction. So this text would not be download, it will say preview. So preview will show you what the judges will be looking at exactly. So they will have the basic information that you put in. Your hero image is the first image that they see, so it's very important to put in something that is like eye-catching or like really represents your project well. Okay, and I would suggest a landscape photo, because if it's a vertical photo, it will they have this black bar lah, so it will be like that. So not very nice. So if a landscape photo will be nicer. Okay, and then your brief description of your project. So I wanted to show you that whatever you format that you put in will be what they are seeing. So you go back up. The brief description. Yeah. So if you put a link, they can click on the link. I can't guarantee they will click on it, but you can put a link. You can bold it, you can italicize it, you can put numbers, you can put bullets. So play with the format around so that it's easier for the judges to look at the submission and see your points. Because remember, they are looking at a lot of submissions at the same time and a lot of categories. So they might be looking at 60, 70 different projects. So if you can make it short and sweet and easier for them to identify what you are trying to bring across, then it would help a lot in the judging process also. Okay? Okay, then you scroll down. Okay, for example, design excellence, right? Design concept is like 20%. Scroll down a bit more. So what the judges will have is this portion, they will have a scoring bar here that will show, they will score the project. So every single portion, they'll be scoring it as they read it. So just to make sure that you fill up all the portions. If, for example, you don't fill up this portion, they'll just see it as a blank. And then if there's blank, I cannot score. So mostly they'll maybe give you a 0, or if they're nice, they give you 2 lor. So it would be best if you can fill in every single component of the form. Okay? Okay, so maybe we can take a look at the commercial, one of the commercial projects. Okay, so this is the preview view also. So it's the same thing. The questions are the same. You have a hero image, and then you have your brief description, and then you have your website. And then for each portion for the categories, you have the image and then the description, and then image and then description. So just follow the format that they have, so everyone has the same template that the judges will look at. So it's easier for them to view. And also just always keep in mind that make your submissions easy for the judges to view and for them to understand. Okay, so if there's a lot of text, you might want to break down into bullet points to help them understand, or you can bold the title. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the part where I talk about the project accounts. So, no, you go back to the... okay, so this is the developer account, right? Your main account. And then I have different projects here. Okay, so if I go into my account management, I have the different email addresses that I sign up for the project account, which is in the... Okay, I'll show you where this is in the create new project, right? So just now when we created a new project, this email, project account, this email is the one that is for different projects. So developer A, I have 3 projects, X, Y, and Z. So for project X, I'll put Jackie@bizedge.com. Project Y, I'll put Chunwei@bizedge.com. So project X, I will give to my consultants and architects of project X. I'll tell them, okay, use this email account to log in. And then project Y, I'll give a different email account to the architects and consultants for project Y. Okay, and then for that particular email address, when we log in, it will look like... Okay, so this is one of the project accounts. So I log in already. This project account only shows me this particular residential project because that's the only project that they'll see. So each account will log you into a different project. So only the architects or the consultants that are tied to that project will see that one. And then they can, you can just give it to them and explain to them, oh, this is the portion I need you to fill up. For example, design excellence, you need your architect to fill up. Then they can click on it and then edit from there. And then they can save and submit at the bottom. Save and continue, or they can submit. Even if they submit, you can still go into edit. So it doesn't matter which one they click on lah. So, but make sure that at the end, before the deadline, you click on submit. If it's still a draft, then it's not considered as a submission. Okay. Are there any questions about the project account? Yes.
Will there be a password for it?
Yeah, the password would be the same as the email.
So in the email, also that the password is the same as the email, exactly the same.
Correct. So regarding this like submission, creating of accounts, we will send you another PDF closer to the submission date so that you have a better understanding of how to create the accounts. Okay, so we can go back to the slide. Okay, so the submission portal, the key feature that we have is that we have one main account for each developer so that you will create that on your own. And then you can create sub-accounts for each particular project. So each sub-account, you can pass it on to your architects, consultants, IDs, whoever needs to be part of that particular project. So if your architect is involved in project X and Y, you give them the email for X and Y. So it gives them a different account login. Okay? And then the third thing that we have is you can preview whatever you submitted before the final submission closes. So whatever you're previewing would be what the judges would be looking at exactly. Okay, and you can edit before the deadline. So even if you submit, you can still edit. And then, yep. Okay, that's all for the submission portal. I'm sure you might have some questions regarding the portal or like the criteria. So yes, I'll answer them now.
Just asking, right? So my assumption is that the judging criteria is the same across all the years in terms of the points weightage, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, then if the team is spaces to places, then shouldn't that kind of like play with a bigger
A bigger part of it,
Yeah.
right?
so,
Yes.
How should I actually incorporate, or I should just try to find a way to incorporate the theme into each of all these components?
So the components, the weightage will remain the same, but the theme will also be shared with the judges. So they will keep in mind that, okay, how well the spaces to places has been played out during your submission also. So try to incorporate, yes, to answer your question, try to incorporate the theme into the different components. Any more questions? Okay, no questions. Very clear. Okay, so if there are any more questions, maybe you can ask me again later. But right now, I will pass on the time to Gavin. So he will share with you about why sustainability is important in real estate development, and also the scoring components, which you will be more interested to know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. So we'll make it short and sweet so that we don't be in the way of the nice food and the nice smells, aromas from there. So my name is Gavin from CPG, and we'll be doing the sustainability scoring. So background why we are holding this training is because the past 2 years we've got quite a lot of feedback from you guys. You know, how come my project got Green Mark Platinum, but then I don't score for sustainability? So in short, our issue is not that we don't want to score you. The issue is that sometimes there's no submission for us to score on. So while I know you got Green Mark Platinum, you got all these awards, right? When I try to look at your materials that you submitted, there's nothing for me to take reference from. And then we are very helpful. We actually go to your website, go to your brochures and try to squeeze out. So some of you realize, hey, how come I score so high? But some of you also complain, how come I got nothing to score? So today we'll share the principles on how we do it and how to allow you to maximize your score on sustainability. So I'll just quickly run through this, some background on why we are looking at sustainability in a certain way. So all of us know Paris Agreement. A couple of years ago, all the countries in the world decided that we need to limit carbon emissions. So as a result, Singapore has set certain targets. So to meet certain targets, they identified that buildings, what we do, is a big problem. Right? Buildings take up a big chunk of our carbon emissions. All in all, in Singapore, it's about 25% of carbon emissions. So because of that, we have a green plan that is trying to address some of these issues. But in particular, it translates down to our built environment sector. So there are 3 things they want to do. They want to make our buildings more green. They want to make our buildings super low energy. And they want to make our buildings very efficient. So these are the 3 key things that we look out for when we score for your sustainability and when you do your green mark. So these are the sections of green mark. We have energy efficiency. We have 5 other things besides that, because it's not just about power, it's also about health and well-being. How are your users, your residents, your occupants feel and work and live within the area? Maintainability, it must be easy to maintain as well. It must be resilient, so when there's heat waves, it doesn't cause undue discomfort to your residents. And today we're looking at intelligence, the use of sensors, cloud, and smart AI to make sure that everything is seamless. So at the end of the day, this is back to the push by the SG Green Plan. And when your consultants score for Green Mark, they would already be doing some of these things. Okay, so this is some of the international ISO standards of how we actually measure the impact of something on the environment. This is through measuring their carbon across the entire life cycle. This is just a sneak preview. Today I'm not here to lecture. If you're interested, you can read up on the ISO standard. Okay, so the issue is that globally it's 37% of energy. In Singapore it's about 25%. Okay, so why sustainability is key in the EdgeProps? This part is the most important part. The front part is when your lecturer is droning on. This one is where you take your notes. So number 1 is to recognize all of you who demonstrate outstanding sustainability, thought leadership and performance. So we are here to try to help you market your features. So today we try to help you to help us score you. Second, there's a market demand for eco-conscious properties. Third, to align with government incentives and financing schemes as well. So if you are doing Green Mark, it helps you align with some of the potential incentive schemes from the government. And last but not least, to enhance your property value, marketability, and long-term cost savings, because if it uses less energy, it's very cheap or much cheaper to maintain and operate. So these are some figures from BCA. There's actually some market data to show that if you attain different green mark standards, there are financial impacts. So this is the MPV savings per GFA based on the scoring criteria that you go for. So typically we're all looking at the new residential building area. This one is for non-residential building. So if you go for all the way to platinum, you potentially save up to $140 per square foot over the life cycle of the building. So now for green and sustainable excellence in the EdgeProp Awards for this year. Let's talk about some of the scoring criteria that we're using. This is very technical, so just bear with me. But later on, we'll share how to help you score. That's the more important part. So we are going to base this on Green Mark 2021 for a very simple reason, because many of your architects, your designers would already be gunning for this. So this is something that's in line with what you already do. Our focus here is not just the baseline that BCA set. We're trying to promote and market those of you who go above and beyond. So those of you who look at carbon, energy efficiency, intelligence, resilience, health and well-being, and maintainability in a targeted approach, so that this at the end of the day is aligned with the SG Green Plan as well. Okay, so we have actually 6 sections in Green Mark. So the sections that we're paying attention to is number 1, energy efficiency. So you're designing buildings that use less aircon, more naturally ventilated, more natural daylight, or even buildings with sensors that turn off your corridors when nobody's there. Second, whole life carbon. So like what V-ZUG is doing, its entire life cycle, when you procure, when you produce your equipment, it has as little impact on the environment as possible. So we are addressing the carbon from the construction and the fit out of your building. Next, health and well-being, how you improve the indoor environmental quality to give a better quality of life to your occupants and users. And 4, resilience, how you respond to the climate and things like water efficiency and waste efficiency. Of course, there's also some to do with intelligence and maintainability, but this will not be the focus for EdgeProp Awards because we are focusing really on a residential building. Scoring criteria is 60% quantitative. It's a checkbox exercise. So if you do it, you get the score. If you don't do it, you don't get the score. So we make it very straightforward for you. Those of you who have a little bit of experience with Green Mark, you know that it's a spectrum. But for EdgeProp Awards, we make it a yes or no criteria. So it's easier for all of you to comply. But of course, this is for this edition. Maybe in future, we will change it to a spectrum. We'll see how it goes. So it's a yes or no with points assigned to each question. More importantly, we need the documentation or evidence from your project. Okay, officially, we need your Green Mark report or QP submission or declaration, but we know many of you submitting are not from your project team, you're from your marketing team, you're from your other teams. So we also accept other things. Later, I'll share some of the samples that we'll accept. There's 60 points. There's 40 points that is scored by the judges. So this is based on a qualitative response to the environment, response to the design. So this is subject to site appreciation and presentation. The breakdown. So in the different sections are different points. From section 1, for whole of life carbon section, we have 12 points. Energy efficiency, we have 12 points. Water and waste management, we have 10 points. Environment and ecology, we have 10 points. Active mobility, we have 4 points. And health and well-being, we have 12 points. So this gives you a rough idea what we're looking at. We're looking at procurement, green materials, green equipment. We're looking at energy efficiency, energy efficient equipment, energy efficient design. Water and waste management, how do you deal with water waste to produce less waste to the environment? Environment and ecology is the trending thing now. We're trying to design something that is a city in nature, that is biophilic, that is rewilding. So the use of landscape, the use of local species, the introduction of biodiversity and biophilic nature-based designs. Next, active mobility as well is a key to greening. That means we use less cars, we rely more on bicycles and other similar devices. And last but not least, it must benefit the end users, so health and well-being. Okay, so if you answer all these yes, you get a total of 60 points from this section. Okay, I'll just quickly show you how detailed these criteria are, but don't worry. This is just to give you a flavor of how rigorous BCA is. But for our scoring, we are a lot more generous because we're trying to get everyone used to this concept. And as we level up, we will level up the scoring criteria with everyone. Okay, so this is on whole life carbon. We are looking at assessment of your carbon, adoption of sustainable building systems, and importantly, whether you have a main builder who is green and gracious. That means they are recognized by the Green Building Council to be a very green and sustainable contractor. Okay, next, we're looking at energy efficiency. So we're looking at a few things. Are you a super low? Do you have reduced heat envelope? Do you have demand control system? Basically, any sensors that turn on or off your lights. The use of 5 ticks aircon, and the use of energy recovery or regenerative mode for your lifts. Next, waste management. So we're looking at things like the very popular now, the pneumatic waste conveyance system that is used in HDB. Some of the condos are also using this. So this means you have a vacuum system that sucks all your waste, bring it underground to a central sorting area. So you don't have to manually move it. So not just is this more efficient, it's also a lot more pleasant. You don't have the workers opening the trash bin every morning. So next, a few other things like using water efficient fittings, the wells 3 ticks, and also reporting of your waste data to NEA, like an annual waste audit. Next, active mobility. So we're looking at provision of safe access to your active mobility users, and also bicycle lots above and beyond LTA's requirements. So for health and well-being, a few things. Want to use cross ventilation, natural ventilation to make your users feel comfortable. The use of thermal comfort simulation so that the building itself makes your occupants comfortable. We're also looking at views to the outside. So your spaces like where we are today, you have a very nice view to outside nature, all the greenery, all the natural lighting. Communal spaces and facilities that has things like exercise facilities, playground, communal gardens, sensory spaces. And also things like water coolers at convenient locations. So as you can see, all these things are features that your buyers are already looking at. The key now is how can you help us to quantify this and show evidence so that we can give you the points. Okay, last but not least, environment and ecology. So how you use things like environmental survey, plant species that are native to Southeast Asia, wild landscape areas, and restoration of natural areas. These things are also very trending. Your users are asking for all these, like nice gardens, nice wild landscape areas. So really is to help us find evidence and give you a yes for this to give you the points. So I take a pause there. Any questions so far on the scoring criteria? Active quantitative scoring. But of course, we are all not technical experts here. So we rely on a few things. We have a hierarchy of documentation here. So number one, if you can give us your green mark submission details, if you have your full report, that's the best. But I know oftentimes after your consultant is done in the project, it's very hard to get this. It's okay. We can also check on BCA's website, the Super Low Energy Hub. If your building is there and you have some of these write-ups, we will help you score there. So the past few years, some of you might be wondering, I didn't submit anything but I got scored. This is why the team behind the scenes is very hardworking. We went to the website, we checked your project, and we make sure to cross-check. So number one, if there's any official sources that enable us to give you the points. Number two, site photos. Example, if you declare wild landscape area, you show us photos like this. In the absence of these two, we also accept design drawing and intent drawings. And last but not least, last resort, if your publicity materials like your website and your brochures have some renders or write-ups, we would also accept it if it meets the criteria. Okay? So I pause here. Any questions? Any clarifications? So the message from EdgeProp and CPG is actually very easy to score. We just need your help to compile it and pass it to us. Okay, and they've put the new platform so it makes it a lot easier for you to do the submissions this year. So very important. We will first rely on this, but many of you didn't submit this to BCA, so we don't have this information. In the absence of that, we'll rely on your site photos, your design drawings, or even your marketing brochures with the areas highlighted. Okay, so we are actually trying to promote this. So in the first few editions, we are trying to be as generous as possible to recognize as many of you guys as possible. So please help us to help you score for this section. Just informally within this group, I can share that based on the past 2 years, the average score for this is only passing score. Not because you didn't do anything, but mainly it's because of documentation. So I believe with proper documentation, we can level up everyone as a whole and try to at least score everyone as a passing mark, and then the winners will be the A stars. So just to put into context, last year winner is barely a B mark because they only about 40 points. Okay, so the potential to level up on this criteria is there. Just need your help. Okay, the next few slides are a bit more details on what we'll accept. Okay, and then last but not least, the judges will also go through a qualitative section where they go through your site survey, and we'll ask these 2 questions. Number 1, is the sustainable design holistic and cohesive? So if you're in the middle of Orchard Road and then you say that you're taking species from Bukit Timah, that makes sense because Orchard Road is next to Bukit Timah. But if you're sited in Changi and then say you're bringing species from Bukit Timah, maybe that doesn't really gel with the narrative. So we're looking at a cohesion, a narrative that makes sense. Second, does the development reflect a city in nature? So it's not just about low carbon. We want to bring back the greenery. We want to bring back the nature. Okay, so based on these 2 criteria, the judges on their site walk around will be scoring you guys. So we'll add these 2 sections together, finalize the score, and decide on the winners for this particular category. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation, and as promised, short and sweet. We are here to help you. So hopefully this year, hope to see more A stars and A's in our submission. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. So I noticed you are taking photos of Kevin's slides. So is it okay if I share the slides?
Sure, you can. We can share the slides with you after this.
Send the slides, Kevin's slides to all of you here through email. Okay, so another thing
Alright, thank you,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.